So really, should I give you like the raw, real version?
You better.
What is up, people? Today I'm so excited because I'm sitting with the founder of Late Bloomers, which is legit one of my favorite platforms on Instagram. Mena is just a ball of inspiration, and I'm so excited for what this conversation has in store. Before we go on, make sure you please like, subscribe, and leave a comment if anything that we say resonate with you. So get your tea ready, get your TV ready, however you're watching this, and let's have conversation, y'all.
So really, should I give you like the raw, real version?
You better. Like, that's why we're here.
We'll get real. I was super depressed.
Right.
At the time I was 27.
Right.
And I was just looking around, like thinking, gosh, everyone seems to have their life together. And seems to, whether it was seeing that friends were buying their first properties, people were getting engaged, having children. I was just like, okay, like I'm 27, coming up to 30, and these things aren't happening for me. So there must be something that's up, like what's going wrong here? And God really spoke to me during that season, because I remember being up, when you're like up and like, there wasn't anything I was doing. It wasn't like I had a job to go to in the morning, nothing. Right. I was literally just doing nothing. And so I was up till like 3 a.m. watching Netflix, and I just remember crying out to God, like, is this my life? I can't do this. Like, why am I 27 and I have no sense of direction? Like, what the hell is going on? And he spoke to me in that moment, and he really just said, you're a late bloomer. Just because it hasn't happened for you now doesn't mean it's never going to happen. And so I thought to myself, okay. The next day I remember texting my sister and being like, I want to start writing something. I don't know what it is, whether it's a blog, but I want to start just documenting my thoughts. And so I remember saying to myself, okay, if I'm going to take this project seriously, let me have at least 6 stories lined up. Like, let me just write down different things that I'd experienced, write down my thoughts and feelings about adulting and like just growing up in this world. And so I put together like 6 stories, and people kind of resonated with it. And that's how the platform started. I've suffered for a long time with like depression.
Right.
At first I didn't acknowledge it. I was just like, okay, there are just days where I don't want to get out of bed. And I had no clue what was causing this kind of depression, what made me kind of super moody. Like, it was like being around me was like walking on eggshells, because I was just so unhappy with life. And it would be me blaming everybody else, like the people around me. You self-sabotage and you kind of distract, and there are lots of negative things that happen, and you're kind of just thinking, like I'm just gonna sit in this depression. And for a lot of people, even for me, it was super hard to come out of it, because in your mind that's all that you see. There is no light at the end of the tunnel. Like, there were super dark days where I couldn't see the point of doing anything, of applying to any jobs. I think my first bout of depression probably started when I got a 2-2 at university. So I graduated with a 2-2. I was like a couple marks from a 2-1, and I thought to myself, gosh, like at the time, I don't know if it's that serious now. I'm not sure, because when was this? Like, whenever I graduated, I'm old, but it's an older. At the time, I was just like, why did I get a 2-2? Like, I worked my ass off in final year. Like, I knew how hard I worked, like literally to try and get that 2-1. And it makes it easier, I guess, because everywhere, whether it was, I don't know if they still have milk round, or there was like this.
Yeah, that milk. Ooh, milk round.
So you're looking for jobs. you're looking for graduate schemes after you look forward to graduating, and it's like, yeah, now I'm gonna find a graduate scheme and I'm gonna do a really cool job and get a really great salary. But for me, that wasn't the case, because I was immediately kind of boxed into a place where you didn't get 2-1, so it's gonna be hard for you to find a job.
Right.
And it was really hard. On top of that, being a Black woman in London, you're already like doubly disadvantaged when
already the fights already
like they already like the box is just there. Like and for me it was like there was no coming out of that box. And the box defined me. I allowed it to define me. I kind of gave up on any type of hope of there being like a future for me and my career, and I was just like, well, I'm never really gonna be able to break glass ceilings or do much because I got a 2-2. And when you're 21, you think like, woe is me, it's the end of the world.
Right.
I stayed in that place for a few years, like for a significant amount of time, where I would just kind of, I would kind of just blame my parents, just blame anyone I could really, for the fact that like my trajectory didn't look the same as others. Right. or you know, it just didn't feel the same. And so that is where kind of the depression started. And the thing about depression is once you have it once, it's very easy for you to get into that place. It becomes a bit of a vicious cycle. And I still struggle with it today. Like, and as crazy as it sounds, you know, even for me, like to this day, depression still haunts me. It's still waiting. It'll be like, oh, okay.
It's on the other side of the
morning you woke up, you're not in a good mood. Okay, let's take you further down the rabbit hole and into like,
all of a sudden you're just thinking about everything else. But actually it's true. I might even be ill as well. Yes. Actually, you know, you just...
No, but the thing is about depression is that it even physically affected me. Like I went through a lot of health issues because of how I was feeling mentally. And I at the time, I didn't acknowledge that the pain was actually a mental pain. I felt like, okay, like it's just, I'm just not feeling great and it's cool. But it really took probably up until I was about 27 for me to actually come face to face with, okay, like you suffer from this, like this is a problem for you.
So you're 21 and now 27, right? So there's 6 years of you feeling this pain and you're not really sure what it is. Or even if you had it back over your head, that was depression. But like, what was the switch in you at 27 that you were just like, okay, I'm recognizing that this is depression?
So I think for me, at that age, like with my cousin being terminally sick, it really just showed me that life is really short and you don't get to choose what day it's gonna happen where God says it's time. Like, and it's really weird the way grief does that. And I think when you speak to a lot of people who have experienced grief of like a close family member or somebody passing away, the stories are quite similar, because it's almost like an awakening happens where it's like, okay, like life, tomorrow isn't promised. And you can't sit in the past of like what has happened to you, or yeah, so what, you got a 2-2. Okay, and does it mean you're not smart? Does it mean you're not capable? No, it doesn't mean anything. You can't let that define you. And for years I had let it define me. I stopped applying for jobs because I was too scared of the rejection, because I will always get rejected from jobs. Like literally, I changed my name on CVs, I don't know how many times to try and get jobs. Like, and I knew that I was capable. Like I was temping. I remember this particular job where literally I would go out and temp at a reception desk. I'm like, I have a master's, because I even went back to school. Like I went back to do a master's, which I loved and I did really well in. But it was like, that even wasn't enough. So I was like, I was sitting in London at an office, do a reception job for like £7 an hour or something. I was like, I actually have a master's? Like, how can I be here doing this? And I just remember being at this reception desk and thinking, no, like, no, this is not going to be my future. This might be a part of my story, but this isn't where it's going to end. And just deciding in that moment, yeah, I'm going to move to Lagos. I literally had to get myself to a place that was uncomfortable. Because sometimes with depression, you just have to shake yourself up. Like, do something that you've never done before. Like, take the leap of faith and like see where God places you. And so for me, that leap of faith, the opportunity was in Lagos. So I think that's where the hustle and drive started for me. But the fact that I was uncomfortable, it wasn't like I was at home. Like, I was living with an aunt. You know, it was lovely and everything, but at the same time, in the back of my mind, I knew, okay, this isn't my house. Like, yes. I can't get too cozy here. Like, I need to start, I need to start spreading my wings and finding other means of like really hustling. And that's the thing, Nigeria does that to people. Like, automatically you just become a hustler. Right. And that really shaped me and helped me to come out of that whole woe is me, pity my life type of mentality, where it was more like, actually, if you want something, you better freaking get your ass up and go for it. Like, literally, you better do that. And so it really shaped me in that way. And I think for me, that's kind of how I started to then regain myself. I mean, there were still moments where I fell into deep depressions, because obviously at the same time I was out there, the thing was happening with my cousin over here. He was like seriously deteriorating, and it was tough. It was tough on my relationship with God. It was tough on my relationship with myself, and even in a relationship that I found in Lagos, it was super tough with that too. And so, you know, just dealing with all of that, you kind of come to certain realizations about life and about how you can make the choice every day. Like, every day you decide to choose joy or to choose staying in a place where like you're depressed. I think it's different for everyone, and I can't speak for everyone, but for me, writing was my saving grace. I never used to write. I didn't even think I was good at it, or like I really enjoyed it. And for me, starting the late bloomers and like almost treating each thing like a journal entry, like it was me talking to myself, that, you know, I would write these things, and it wasn't as if the positive thoughts weren't there. I mean, I grew up in a very Christian household. My parents, they're both coaches. Like this is what they do for a living. Like, they literally sit and talk people through their life, their traumas and troubles, etc. And so we grew up in that kind of household where every day we would eat dinner together. And on the dinner table, my dad would always ask, okay, so how's everyone doing? And it would be like a check-in every single day of like, how's your day? How are you doing? So I grew up always able to express my feelings. Right. That was never something that was difficult for me. I think it became difficult to do it in front of people, because there was almost like a shame around being vulnerable in that way. But for me, writing it was very easy. Like, I think I would advise to anyone out there, find what your creative outlet is. Everybody has it. You don't actually have to be creative to have an outlet. Like, a lot of people think, oh, you have to have studied something or done something before. I know people that use art as therapy, like literally, and they're not even painters. I think the problem with our generation is that we've lost the whole thing about hobbies and doing things that we actually enjoy. Yeah. Rather than think like
just for money, or
like people think that, oh, okay, like because you're writing now, you have to write a book. No, I don't. Like, I could decide I don't want to do that. But for me, writing is therapy. Like, even in my I like every day, and literally you see the teardrops on the journal. It's like, I'm just there crying out. I don't even know what I'm crying about. Like
trying it out.
Smudges on the ink. But it's so, for me, the process for me, that's my process of healing, because it's so beautiful to like express how I feel, even if nobody gets to see it or nobody does see it.
Yeah.
It's for me, like, that's where you have to do that internally for yourself. So I think it's about finding that outlet, that practical thing that you can do. It could be the gym. A lot of people use that as I've started yoga, and for me that journey as well has been incredible. Like the feeling I get when I do yoga, I haven't got it with any other exercise. To know when you sense your triggers, for me that's super important. Like knowing, okay, I'm about to be triggered. What do I do? What can I practically do to change the situation? Before I left Lagos, when the lockdown happened, I knew that if I didn't leave, my depression would have been very deep. Like I could feel it, I could sense it. And I just had to center myself and think, okay, what can I practically do in this moment to try and find a way to get out of the country and to get back to where it's home for me? Like, because obviously with everything happened, nobody knew what the next.
It's so uncertain.
For me, it was like, okay, I gotta be with my family. Like, I mean, I love you, Auntie. Like, I really do, but like, I've got to find like where it feels safest for me to be right now, and for me that was home, and I had to be okay with that. Like for a while, I was just like, oh, like I'm almost 30. Should I really be making that choice? Yeah, I can make whatever choice I want. At the end of the day, it's my life. I literally like.
And keep on making it. 31, 35. It's like we put all this pressure on ourselves. With
like, oh, is that the adult thing to do? Aren't you meant to? No, actually, I had always planned to be in London for summer. And if I didn't get out then, I probably wouldn't be out now. So
yeah. A lot of the times we can focus on the things that are not in our control. Like, and that's where we spiral. That's where our mind also tricks us and then puts us in the center of that. But actually, especially someone who's going through depression is really trying to focus on the things that you can control. But even from what you've mentioned, the main thing is doing something. Like, I think, you know, like, and that's how for me, I started to get better. It was just like, okay, today I'm just going to get out of bed. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm just going to listen to my favorite playlist on Spotify. I love music so much and I love dance. So like, you know, that was like the little steps, but it's literally just standing up from your bed and just being like, okay, today I'm just going to do this. And then however you feel, even if you go back to that mood and whatever, but it's just that for that moment, you know, deciding that you're just going to do something. And I think
that can be the only thing you do in the day, and you have to be cool with it. There are days where literally I can just Netflix and I've just been like, I've done nothing the whole day, but for me mentally, that's what I needed to do to unwind or to switch off.
Yes.
And that's a mental health day for me. It's like, okay, like I put whatever I wanted to do, like to help me not spiral and not go down like a rabbit hole. This is what I wanted to do for that day, and that's what I've done, and it's an accomplishment, and I'll write it down as an accomplishment. It's just about balance, man. Like balance is super important on your healing journey. It's not overdoing things and it's not underdoing things. It's just finding the right medium where you're getting stuff done, but you're not like bashing yourself or being super hard on yourself if stuff doesn't get done. And like you said, everything is kind of within your control. You just do what you can control for that day.
What would you say the biggest learning has been with healing from, let's say, from your young self of 21 to your still young self of now? You know, like, what is the biggest learning that you've really felt, actually, I'm going to take this with me to my next chapter?
To just show up as myself, without any kind of shame or worry that people will judge me. Because the truth of the matter is everyone's going to judge you anyway, like, regardless of what you do or don't do. People work. It's just human nature. It's how we are. But I think where I feel truly fulfilled is where I can honestly just be myself, like just come as Mena and just be like, okay, this is me. And what you find when you're being authentically true to who you are is that you start attracting the things that complement that. So whether it's people or friends or relationships or jobs, career, everything kind of, it's like God starts opening the door because you're just being you. Yeah. You're being who he actually created you to be. And I think that's the biggest learning, because I used to struggle with that. I used to judge myself so harshly, thinking, oh, people are gonna think I'm awkward or I'm weird, or like I'm not really the most cool girl, like I'm not as stylish. Like I used to have all these thoughts, and I thought at the end of the day, like I don't care, like I'm just gonna show up as me. It's like the journey has been rough, it's been hard, there's been lots of ups and downs, but finally I'm at a place where I see me.
Right.
That's super important, because if you don't see you, nobody else will.
Right.
And so it's just getting comfortable with who you are. The biggest learning curve for me.
Yeah, it's been so amazing. Honestly, I've learned so much from this conversation, and I just really hope that people can relate and also just learn from this as well. But it's so much. Next time there's going to be real tea, because
Thank you so much, guys, for getting to the end of the video. If any of what was said today resonate with you, please make sure you like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know your feedback. And if you have any other further questions, make sure you just find me on IG, Toluwa Oyele. I would love to connect with you. I would love to have a chat. So yeah, get in touch. Until next time, bye guys.